Good evening. It is July 16th, 2025. This is Debbie Davis. Okay, so we've had a lot of storms since I did my last video. Okay, so are these random storms, or are these God's divine intervention? I don't know. People can make their own assumptions and say say you know think whatever they want to think, but there clearly has been a lot of flooding since July 14th, and so there's definitely things going on. I just all I did was read some scriptures, and this is what I've done before, and and if you remember, there's been really specific storms. Now it was 2023, 2024, and now this year there's more storms. Okay, so it was Bull Pony talks about this, and I've talked about this. There was on the Passover. On the Passover, there was a storm that, like a whole tornado of storms that went straight across the USA from like the north to the south, like this, right? And then in 2024, another storm went across from this way, and it formed an X right in Kerrville. Okay, Bull Pony talks about this, but it literally it was the storm of tornadoes the first year, and then I think it was another storm of tornadoes the second year. Just tornadoes, just like, and went in like a straight line both years, and it was right over the Passover, right around the Passover. Okay, Passover, and I've talked about this. The Passover goes back to the days in the Bible where they said, put the mark of the blood of the lamb over your dwelling, and it was the death. It was like the spirit of death was going and taking all the firstborn children or something, and then they would pass over you. Okay, so that's where that comes from, that Passover. There was the angel of death was going to take all the firstborn. They were going after Jesus. Is what they were doing. The angel of death, right? And so they said, put the sign of the cross over your door, so the angel of death, and so the angel will pass over your dwelling. That's how the whole word Passover comes from. Okay, so but these storms went straight across one way and literally straight across the other way, and literally the center is that Kerrville, that where the flooding happened in Texas. So and somebody mentioned that there's some witch covens there in one video. I don't believe they were. So what is the significance of Kerrville? That's what I'm still trying to figure out. I'm thinking it's maybe the witch covens there. That some kind of significance. So that is what I'm still trying to figure out myself, because it's centered right in Kerrville. Okay, so clearly there's some kind of significance of Kerrville, Texas, because that's where the center was of the cross. And there's a huge 77-foot cross in Kerrville. So it's some kind of sign from God, okay? So we have to figure out what the significance of Kerrville, Texas is, and in my opinion, I personally think it has something to do with the witches. witchcraft. There's a lot of covens. Everybody underestimates these Eastern Star Mason women, okay? Because the women, they always think of, because they don't act, they don't act like witches. When you meet them, they act really nice to your face, but they're a pure evil behind your back. Okay, they've infiltrated the church. They've infiltrated, a lot, most organizations. These Eastern Star. So the Eastern Star, the Masons, the women Masons are the Eastern Stars, right? Okay, and they're all witches. Okay, and they are also involved in these covens. They have these covens. They just openly admit they're part of a coven. In Minneapolis, they openly admit, there's a coven, corporate center, like a business center where you can have your business operated out of there. And they're all witches, and they're like, oh, we practice casual witchcraft. It's like, oh, we casually just put curses on people and kill people. No big deal. These witches they kill people. Okay, they sacrifice at least 4 people a year when you're on the lower levels of the Illuminati. When you get higher, it's way more than that. These are murderers. Okay, these witches are murderers. They've sacrificed thousands and thousands of people. Okay, and they use these witches as spies. They infiltrate them into the church, into different organizations, and basically they're female spies. Okay, because a lot of people don't assume for some reason that females are a threat as much as the men. And so that's the standard feeling, I guess, and that's what we have to understand, that they've used that against us. They've used the fact that we think that females are not a threat, and so you're not on your, you don't, and so you've underestimated the females, basically, and the level of the Masons too. You've underestimated that. So anyway, but I'm reading this book. I'm reading another book now, and this particular one I was referred to by a friend of mine, Charlene, who had this type of thing in her family. I've had her on my channel, and this is called the Harem Key. Okay, and this is this book are these 2 men that joined the Masons. Let's see, when was this book? This copyright. Okay, but these 2 men wrote this book named Chris Knight and Robert Lomas, and so the copyright was, let's see, this was copywritten in London and Australia and New Zealand. Okay, but these guys had like no idea what they were joining. They thought they were just joining a men's club, and they portray themselves like oh my gosh, Grand Lodge of Minnesota. Okay, this is a direct comment from David Sinclair Beauchore, from the past Grand Master of Freemasonry, Grand Lodge of Minnesota, USA. The Hiram Key could spark the beginning of a reformation in Christian thinking and a reconsideration of the facts, which we have so blindly accepted and perpetuated for generations. This book is a must for free thinkers. Okay, so let me just show this part right here. Oh shoot. See, they're doing this thing with my lighting, so you can't see anything. Okay, this was written. There was something in the book here written in the beginning, and then also an excerpt written from these men saying, "Nothing is hidden that will not be made known, or secret that will not come to light. What I tell you in the dark, speak in the light. And what you hear in the whisper, proclaim on the housetops." Well, this is a Bible verse. This was said by Jesus. Okay, and We're talking about they're so basically they're exposing the Masons in this. They became Masons themselves, and then they started exposing it. So I'm trying to figure out what year this was written, but there's a lot of things that don't make any sense. So I'm just going to read a few things here that I read so far. If you have Masons in your family, or people that you're in relationships with or whatever that are Masons, there's just a lot of things that don't make sense. Okay, first of all, they say that they're an organization that started from the Knights Templars. Like they're apparently associated with the Knights Templars. The Knights Templars were murdered in 1307, and there was a 410-year gap before the actual Freemasons started after that. And they totally said, oh no, we're totally associated with the Knights Templars. But yet there's 400 years in between. Okay? So that's one big red flag right there. Okay? We have like over 5 million, male. There's a Masonic lodge in like every huge city of the United States. So this is like a huge deal. Right? Okay, so there's only there's like 500 male members in regular lodges. Okay, a lot of famous people. Okay, I'm just going to read a few excerpts from this book. I'm just reading books right now because, I'm so blacklisted from these videos that I'm doing. It's just like, it's very difficult for me to get any kind of employment, and I've been blacklisted from getting a government job ever since I became a whistleblower. Our government, that's what our government does to people like me. And so I just read these books, and, I find I'm enjoying reading these books anyways. Okay, so but anyway, so so the Masons, under the Scottish Constitution, this is really a Scottish institution. So they were trying to find any kind of a resemblance that the Masons were even derived from real Masons, like the real Masonic stone builders, and they couldn't even derive any kind of a direct correlation between the real Masons of Europe with the ones that created the lodge that were from Britain, because the ones that created the Masonic rituals were from Britain, and the ones that are real Masons are from Europe, a totally different type of Europe, and they were not involved in any kind of rituals like this. They were so I'm going to read a couple things here, but in Scotland you can become a Mason under the year, as long as you're 18 years of age. And here in the United States you have to be, I think 21. But most people do not understand a word of the ceremonies they participate in. Because really really after they realized what they joined, this is years ago. I think they wrote this book like 20, 30 years ago. Okay. Literally they're like, this is such silly rituals. Like, what are we joining exactly? Right? It's like theatrics and rituals that they don't even understand. And then they have a meal and beer and wine afterwards, and they really don't even know what they're saying. And it turns out that, you're actually doing curses on yourselves, and it's extremely detrimental to you and your whole bloodline. I mean, that's, and over 90% of all the police are Masons. And so that's why I have a problem with the police. Okay. Okay. So this guy had become a Mason, and then he had a friend who was a born again Christian, saying that he was in a counseling role with a church group, and he said, "Well, what kind of things are you doing there?" And he said, I'm helping people who are suffering from Masonic curses." And this guy was like, "What?" He didn't tell him at the time that he was a Mason, but what is a Masonic curse? He said, without telling him my direct connection with the Masons. Masons, well, he said that the Masons have to swear allegiance to one another at the expense of all others, even their families. If they fail, they have curses brought down on them, which create terrible sufferings to them and those around them. Okay? So, I mean, this is nothing to play around with. These are real rituals. You're basically, when you go do these Masonic rituals, you're doing a satanic ritual that brings curses on you and your entire family. It's very dangerous. And so, basically, so they're trying to figure out at this point, okay, where did this whole ritual and this whole, like, complete organization that's spread throughout the whole United States and in Europe and where did this even come from? Because there was like a 400-year gap from the Knights Templars. Okay. It does not know where it came from. No one seems to know where it is trying to achieve either. Okay, this guy's, he said, what exactly are we doing? It's all about like the party and the beer and the meal, Okay. What I was actually joining was virtually unknown to me. The only firm question that had been put to me was, "Do you believe in God?" And I said, "I did." But it says that you can believe in God, but it doesn't have to be, it can be any God. It can be any God, okay? And so, so basically, he talks about several different things here. Well, he talks about the actual. He wrote down the actual in this book, the actual rituals that you say, and he said when he got to like the third level, the first two were like he really didn't even know what he was doing, and then he was just like a party afterwards and meal and beer and wine, and he was like, okay, this is fun, but then the third one got kind of creepy. He said the third one got kind of creepy, and then he started really wondering, what am I doing here? Okay. They say it's all about like brotherly love and truth, and then they say, okay, relief and relief. Relief from what? And what truth, he says. Okay. I mean, so you don't have to say these different things, but you really don't know what you're saying and what they actually mean, is basically what he's saying, So, let's see. So then, they say that they're directly related to Solomon's temple. Okay, then they looked into those facts. Okay, and King Solomon's temple uh, of course, that did really exist, but did it have anything to do with the Masons? I mean, that was built by the Knights Templars, and so what did the Masons have to do with it? You know. Um, so let's see. So this book is basically talking about one of the main characters in this book is somebody named Harem of Beef, and he was actually a Knights Templar, original Knights Templar, and he worked in the original King Solomon's Temple, and he lost his life over because there was some Masons. In my opinion, the Masons are part of the Illuminati that have infiltrated the Knights Templar. And so he got approached, this Harem of Beef, and he got approached and he got threatened. He said, we need to know what all your secrets are. And if you don't, we're going to kill you. And they killed him because he wouldn't reveal the secrets. So this guy was killed right in Solomon's Temple. So that's what this book is written about. And so he said on the third in the third stage of the Masonic, as you go up in the different stages, he said the third stage, it was like, worshipful master spoke these words and directed my gaze down to the right, where I could just pick out the darkness shape of an open grave with a human skull on a pair of crossed thigh bones at its head. For the first time in Masonic ceremony, I felt a cold wave of goosebumps pass across my body. Okay, then at like the third stage, he started realizing, what exactly am I doing, basically? This isn't like a brotherly club. This is something different. I don't know what I'm doing here anymore. So let's see, I'm just pointing out the important parts that I was picking out of this book, because nobody really talks about anything about. We have so many lodges all over the United States, and nobody knows the secrets. Okay, well, get this book. It'll tell you, because that's what I'm learning right here. So basically, and then they did this whole history of, because they say they were based on stonemasons, and the medieval stonemasons developed a craft for their, they were in Europe, okay? They were completely, despite rigorous searching, we were completely unable to find any records to show that the medieval stonemasons guilds existed at all in England, because England is where these rituals started, I guess. But the stonemasons were not actually located in England. They were located in various parts of Europe. The stonemason guilds were across Europe, but none of them in Britain. Okay, so that part didn't make sense to them either. The stonemasons in Middle Ages were illiterate, most of them, and they were mostly just skilled workers. Okay, apprentices, and they wouldn't have been able to imagine that they have understood, let alone originated, a complex ritual such as this, like these Freemasons, is not very credible, because they were just workers, you know what I mean, apprentices. in their skill. And so just the whole thing doesn't make sense to them now, right? As they are doing a full research into this. Okay, and um, okay, the Knights Templar, um, yeah, like I said, there was a gap of 410 years. Um, how do you explain the gap of 410 years before the sudden demise of the Order of October 1307 and the formal appearance of the new Masons craft? Okay. Okay, so that's basically what I've read so far. And yeah, he said, basically um, under close examination, the guilds of stonemasons did not exist in Britain. So this is what he's finding out so far. Okay, so I'm just at the beginning chapters of these books, and these are two guys who joined the Masons that just started. I think it was many years ago. I mean, I think this is a really old book, but basically they did a full investigation into this whole thing after they started realizing themselves that some of these things don't make sense. Okay, so I personally have had a terrible experience with the Masons. I believe they're fully a satanic cult. I don't think they are at all. I don't think they stem from the Knights Templars at all. There was that 400-year gap, and I don't believe they have anything to do with stonemasonry or anything like that. I think it's all just like a facade that we've been told, and we just believed it. And I think it's a full satanic cult, because the way they've come after me personally. I mean, I haven't done anything to them. I mean, I'm as innocent as they get. I'm a totally innocent whistleblower that was just trying to do their jobs at a military base. That was my job, to report a crime. If I wouldn't have, I would have been liable for things that I wouldn't have reported. Okay, so for you to come after me like you have, because the Masons have been part of coming after me, then that proves that you're definitely not part of any kind of a moral agenda at all. You're part of the satanic cult. They're part of the satanic cult, and I'm learning even more from this book that they are. And I fully believe that the Masons are just fully part of the satanic cult. I think we've been totally bamboozled into, they like to think that they tell everybody, oh, I'm a Mason, I'm part of the, that, oh, it all started with these stone builders. No, it didn't. The stone builders were in Europe, not in Britain. Okay. We're part of the, we give to these charitable organizations. Oh yeah, we give to the children's hospital, but we forgot to tell you that we're part of, terrible things with children. It's just like, come on, we have to wake up. This is a satanic cult. The Masons are a satanic cult. They infiltrated the Knights Templars. They're trying to act like they're Knights Templars, but they're not. They are a satanic cult that are pretending to be like Knights Templars. Okay, and I'm learning this very quickly, and I've learned it from my own experience with them, the way they act towards me. Yeah, and if you're, if there's a lot of, it's decades now of, generational Masons. And so if you're part of if you're part of a Masonic family, or you're married to somebody Masonic, yeah, I fully believe this is a satanic cult. And so, you have to be very careful with these type of things. And, I'm learning more about it in this book, just confirming what I already thought.